Find a specific path beyond those parameters that must be your foundation.
Peace as your way.
Love as your guide.
And liberty as your light.
Learn more at church.shiresociety.com.
That's church.shiresociety.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to Peace News Now. I am accepting friend requests over on Skype, username Peace News Now. That's all one word. You can join us over at peacenewsnow.com/live, where we have a chat room built into the webpage. There's also a cam feed. It is now working properly, or as properly as I can get it to work with this internet connection right now. And we will be talking about stories of peaceful resistance. You know, it's Tuesday. It's July 1st, 2014. Congratulations, everyone. Pat yourselves on the back. You have made it more than halfway through the year. So we are in the, we've made it over the hump, so to speak. Now, we're talking in the first segment about how FIRE, an organization, it's a foundation for students' rights on campus in education. They are suing colleges who are infringing on free speech. Well done. Now we've got a video to show from you from Reason.com explaining more about what it is that FIRE is doing. Here's the video.
What's harm in giving just a small warning?
Certain scenes do trigger certain emotions.
It's really not anyone else's business to tell someone when they are mentally and emotionally ready to deal with things.
You create at a sort of a sense of a duty for a professor not to say anything that potentially could trigger an emotional response from students. You are really severely limiting the world in which a professor can teach.
Have you ever been shocked by a violent or disturbing scene in a movie, book, or on the internet?
Get me help. I want to be sick.
Maybe you could have used a trigger warning.
So a trigger warning warns you about content you might be facing that could provoke a response based on symptoms of PTSD.
The concept of the trigger warning first gained popularity among feminist and social justice blogs, some of which include extensive lists of possible triggers, ranging from depictions of rape and abuse in war to needles and snakes and small holes. One site even lists potential triggers in films, such as American Psycho, which contains gore, murder, and sexual violence against women. Or It Takes Two, which alludes to the death of a parent, child abuse, and child labor. A few enterprising college students are now pushing to bring trigger warnings to the classroom.
I was in a classroom. It was a very small, intimate classroom, and we were watching a film, and there were several scenes of sexual assault, and finally a very drawn-out rape scene. It did not trigger me. I recognized the potential for it to be very triggering.
Bailey Loverin is a student at the University of California, Santa Barbara. And while Oberlin has attracted a fair amount of media attention with its wide-ranging list of triggers that encompass racism, colonialism, religious persecution, violence, suicide, and more, it's actually Loverin's more focused UCSB initiative that's gotten the most traction, passing the Student Assembly and soon to be implemented as a mandate for all professors.
I don't.
Wow, I have to stop here and just say this is sounding a little bit hyper-controlling to me. I'm used to Reason TV taking the side of freedom, but this sounds like a type of nanny statism where the colleges can say, oh, these words are bad, we want to ban these words, we want to have trigger warnings. I don't know. I'll reserve judgment, but let's continue. Reason.tv.
I feel like it's a problem asking for this to be mandated, that this should be an official policy. You're always going to have someone that's going to argue, why? This is ridiculous. I shouldn't have to do this because I don't feel it. Why should anyone else? While the majority of people are already willing and actually implementing this in classrooms, this reaches out to the people that have not yet done so.
If universities had a trigger warning saying, if you want to go to universities, then be careful, there might be stuff that triggers you, that would be sort of absurd at some level. But ultimately, if you're going to college, that is a way of saying that you're ready to talk about some really serious issues.
Being uncomfortable, being upset, being even a little bit offended is different than having a panic attack, blacking out, hyperventilating, screaming in a classroom, feeling like you're under such physical threat, whether it's real or perceived, that you act out violently in front of other people.
The National Institute of Mental Health estimates that about 3% of the adult U.S. population suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder. The mental health network Psych Central says that ordinary events can serve as reminders of the trauma and trigger flashbacks or intrusive images. That means almost anything in daily life could be a potential trigger for someone. But Loverin has a plan for that.
I'd like to hear what that plan is, because it sounds like this student organization is suggesting that everyone restrict their own freedom of speech because someone might be offended, someone might get hurt. There's a whole list of words you can't say. They could be triggers. One never knows. Maybe even the word trigger is a trigger.
The way the resolution was written, it directed the Office of the Student Advocate, which I'm a part, to consistently review and revise this list with the assistance of the Resource Center for Gender and Sexual Diversity, the Women's Center, and the Counseling and Psychological Services on campus.
I've been working defending freedom of speech on college campuses now for 13 years. And the problem with creating a standard that's as broad and vague as the one that they're talking about at UCSB and the one they already have at Oberlin is it very quickly gets co-opted to limit discussion and to punish people who have points of view that you.
Oh, this is awesome. Okay, so the people over at FIRE are on the opposite side of these student organizations. It sounded a little weird the way they framed it at the beginning, like, hey, this is FIRE and they support students' rights, and then here they are, the students, saying, well, we want to ban the trigger words. Well, good thing FIRE is in the corner of free speech, and they're saying, that's a little too restrictive for us.
Really strongly disagree with.
How far can the trigger argument be taken? Just a couple of weeks after the resolution passed the student assembly, a women's studies professor snatched a sign from some pro-life protesters and then pushed one of them away when she tried to take it back.
Hey, don't touch me! And she just pushed my sister as well. I don't care.
Her stated reason for doing so?
I may be a thief, but you're a terrorist.
What she argued was that the display was triggering. And it's an unfortunate part of human nature. If you give us a sort of an excuse to shut down speech with which we disagree, we're very quick to jump on that. We see it as an opportunity.
Well, point well made. Another excellent video from Reason.tv. Where do the restrictions on free speech end? Once they begin, you could say anything's a trigger, that like this professor was. I mean, she's a college-educated professor. She's teaching at an institution of higher learning, and here she is saying, I may be a thief, but you are a terrorist. Why? Because of the words and the visuals that you use. Yeah, it's okay to be a thief so long as I'm protecting people from hurtful words, right? What do you think about this? You can call into the show. Hi-Fi Civ Dis is our phone number. That's 443-424-8347, or Skype us, Peace News Now. Coming up, I want to share a story with you about what's happening in China as the world's first successful 3D printed shoulder and collarbone implants have finally hit the market. We'll get to that coming up. But first, we've got to take a trip to the free market, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. You can check us out at peacenewsnow.com/live in the meantime, where I'll be posting show notes in the chat room. So if you want to read this article about what's going on in China with these 3D printed prosthetics, you can check out the chat room. Hey, why don't we have these here, huh? Peace News Now returns.
Free Talk Live.
The DEA doesn't dabble with users. They go after the big dogs.
Yeah, I'm certain they have dabbled with users, and they would if they thought they could get something. They would if they thought they could get somewhere with it.
Maybe a user who's snorting 3 pounds a week, something where they could actually connect to a player.
Yeah.
But most users are just buying from other users. I mean, in the cocaine world, when you are a user, you've got to support your habits somehow.
Right.
And if you're not willing to go and knock over convenience stores and break into people's cars and hurt people to get the cash for your habit, then the only other choice for you, if you're not wealthy, is to sell cocaine to others.
Right.
And so most people will go and pick up whatever amount of coke they do, and then they'll sell to certain specific people who are their friends. Like he was saying, he was selling to his neighbor across the street. The DEA is not going to mess with that.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at...
Did you know that Free Aid is a mutual aid, educational, and networking organization? At Free Aid, we support volunteers who provide first aid. We do outreach to the public about health and safety, and we bring together medically skilled freedom lovers. Free Aid is made possible by your generous support. Donors can receive great gifts like first aid kits, t-shirts, silver dime cards, and hoodies. The Free Aid Silver Dime Card Project is sponsored in part by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage, Freedom's Phoenix, and Don't Tread on Meme. Visit fr33aid.com.
Listen, you've heard the commercials before. Whether you owe $15,000 or $15 million in tax debt to the IRS or state, we can help. On a never-ending payment plan, penalties and interest killing you, missing tax returns, being garnished or levied, not a problem. If you qualify, we can remove levies and garnishments within days or even hours of hiring our firm. If you've been summoned, or even worse, receiving tax warrants in mail, call right now. Are you a business owner with back payroll taxes? Is the IRS or state threatening to close your business you've worked so hard to build? Protect yourself and your business. Even if you've tried in the past, new guidelines could potentially qualify you today. So what are you waiting for? We can take that tax monkey off your back.
Call the Tax Monkey now. 800-281-6030. 800-281-6030. 800-281-6030. That's 800-281-6030.
If you can't listen to the Liberty Radio Network's internet streams, free satellite channel, or radio affiliates, no worries. You can listen to LRN.FM from any phone, anywhere. Add this number to your phone. 213-493-0309. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The Liberty Radio Network listen lines are locked into our stream 24 hours a day. Call 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
Free Press Publications is an independent alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary at fpp.cc, as well as weekly news in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com. The monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc and books at shop.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at lrn.fm.
Welcome back. It's so good to be with you. You know, I really missed broadcasting those Sundays during PorkFest. Those were the days when I was arriving and leaving, so just unable to broadcast. But it's good to be back. So, hey, everyone. You know, there's good news about Bitcoin today. Newegg.com, a huge tech-focused retailer, accepts Bitcoin. It used to be that the only place on the web that you could get your tech gear in exchange for Bitcoin was bitcoinstore.com. One of the lifetime sponsors of this show, but now BitcoinStore.com has almost outlived its usefulness. It served as a place where people could purchase tech gear and put the pressure on companies like Newegg and Amazon.com so that they could see, hey, look, we can accept Bitcoin. It's easy. Look at all these customers who are spending millions of dollars on tech gear because they're not just going to stop buying it. Just because you don't take Bitcoin, they're gonna find a way to use Bitcoin to buy what they need. So now Newegg.com will be scooping up those Bitcoins and hopefully pass their savings along to their customers and source their inventory with Bitcoin. All of that possible. Now I've signed into the chat room, so join us there. If you have any links that you want to share with me for this episode, we've got plenty to talk about, but sometimes I've missed something in the news. Plus, we're still going to get to that story about the hostage situation that's currently happening in Keene. Hopefully we'll have FreeKeene.com blogger come on live in studio and talk about what's really going on there. But first, an article from 3Deers.org. This about 3D printed shoulder and collarbone implants, but you won't find these in the U.S. That's right. Reading from 3Deers.org, Cynthia writes, in Xi'an, China, the capital of the Shaanxi province, 3D printed titanium prostheses were successfully implanted into the 3 patients suffering from cancerous bone tumors. The procedure took place on March 27th and April 3rd, and the patients are currently in good condition, this writing as of June 3rd, so little less than a month ago. 3D printed bone replacements, a collarbone, a shoulder bone, and the right ilium of the pelvis. One of the 3 patients, a 20-year-old woman, was diagnosed a year ago with Ewing sarcoma in her right collarbone. Ewing sarcoma is a type of small, round, blue-celled tumor. The second patient also suffered from this disease in her right scapula or shoulder bone. And the third patient was diagnosed with cancer in the right ilium of the pelvis. These patients all had malignant tumors, which could be life-threatening if not removed. Eventually, the hospital decided that operations were needed to remove the tumors and replace the affected bones. This is where 3D printing technology comes in. The clavicle or collarbone replacement is a difficult procedure because of the complexity of the bone. With 3D printing technology, it was possible to avoid some of the complications involved in the traditional procedure. Computer imaging was used to design a collarbone in the exact size and shape of the patient's original bone. The 3D bone was printed using laser sintering technology, which focused titanium powder into the exact shape of the bone. The process produced a strong, customized titanium implant, which ensures the implant fits well into the patient's body. Infections and loosening can be prevented in this way and lead to better health and functionality for the patient. And there are some of these pictures that I'll show on the screen for the benefit of the viewing audience. These titanium bone replacements are incredible. It seems like they're lightweight, thin, and perfectly designed. Of course they're perfectly designed. They come from a 3D printer, so they've got the models of the exact bones that they are to replicate. And here you can see what they look like, sort of like a chain link fence or a chainmail sort of appearance to some of them. And I wonder if that's on purpose. Maybe it serves a specific design or intention. Other advantages of the 3D printed titanium bones are their weight, density, and surface texture. Doctors in Xi'an used specific calculations to improve the strength and lower the weight and density of the implants to create realistic, porous replicas of the patient's bones. So there you go, make them porous. The surface textures of 3D printed implants are also more realistic. Compared with the smooth surfaces of machined parts, the surfaces of 3D printed implants may be sponge-like, which is good for muscle, bone, and soft tissue growth around the implant, and also lowers the chance of fluid buildup and infection. Dr. Gu Zhang, an orthopedics professor at Xing Hospital in the 4th Military Medical University in the city, led the team in these clinical trials using 3D printed titanium prostheses. He cited the quality and accuracy of the 3D printed implants, the low cost of production, about half the cost of traditional techniques using molds, and the decreased waiting time for the patients as advantages of 3D printing in bone replacement procedures. Pei Xian, director of the orthopedics clinic of Xinjiang Hospital, told China Daily that, quote, the operations to implant the titanium prostheses into the patient required the bone defects in different body parts and solved the worldwide problem of individual reconstruction for bone loss after the removal of bone tumors from complex body parts. So this is brilliant. I mean, this is a situation where else could you get a perfectly customizable printed bone, all thanks to technology? This is an incredible revelation that's going to empower people to get the replacement body parts that they need, and there's no one who has to suffer for it. You don't have to source a bone from another person. You don't have to whittle anything down. It can be perfectly porous. It can be designed exactly to your specifications. It says the 3D printed procedures in Suing were the result of a careful study and received the approval of Hospital Ethics Committee. According to Zhejiang Hospital, these procedures were the world's first clinic application of 3D printing in shoulder and collarbone replacements. So this is a very big story. I think it's a big deal. But considering that this is a 3D printed pelvis, shoulder, and a collarbone, is this just the beginning? Are we going to see 3D printed limbs? Are we going to see entire body parts? Can we see skin begin to be printed? I mean, I wonder about the applications for people who have lost their skin, not only in fires, but think of all the millions of men around the world, perhaps even billions, who have been circumcised against their will, without their consent. Could they perhaps have 3D printed reconstructive surgery? There's just a whole world of possibilities now. But it's important to also underline that this is happening in China and not the U.S. Typically, people go to the U.S. for medical care. They know that they can receive the highest quality of treatment in the U.S. because of the stiff competition between doctors. But that's not so anymore. We're not hearing stories like that. More and more stories are coming out of India, China, Pakistan, places where people are free to develop technologies and use them in medicine. But that's just not the case in the U.S. The restrictions on freedoms for doctors means less health for the general population. It's not such a good thing. But hopefully, you can't restrict 3D printers. Anyone can have one. You can build your own at home. Maybe you can't have a 3D printer that uses titanium, but Ataris were in the home in the 70s, and we've got Xbox just a few decades later. I think we'll be able to see 3D printed technology in your home sometime soon. This is Peace News Now.
On LRN.FM, we talk a lot about alternative currencies. Did you know that now you can buy gold, silver, and other precious metals with bitcoins? LRN.FM has partnered with Amaji Metals to bring you great prices on beautiful .999 fine silver, as well as gold, platinum, and other metals. Check out their selection and pay with bitcoins or Federal Reserve notes at metal.lrn.fm. That's metal.lrn.fm. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. Find out about giving to our Google AdWords campaign at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com. DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.lrn.fm. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit the Liberty Radio Network when you shop at Amazon via shop.lrn.fm. When I found the Free State Project, I knew it was the key to achieving liberty in my lifetime. It's awesome to be surrounded by like-minded, freedom-loving activists who've moved here to New Hampshire. From politics to civil disobedience, we have it all. Where I came from, it felt that no matter what I did, liberty was dying. Perhaps you feel the same way? Call 888-377-2515 now to learn more about the Free State Project. That's 888-377-2515 or visit freestateproject.org.
Did you know that you can listen to LRN.FM 24/7 via our free-to-air satellite channel? From Mexico to Canada, our signal covers nearly all of North America. All you need is a view of the southern sky, an affordable receiver, and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you're a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage map and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm.
Are you looking for an excuse to come check out New Hampshire this fall? You're invited to Keenvention. Keenvention is your chance to meet dozens of key liberty activists from across the Shire. You can explore the beautiful little city of Keene, discuss various forms of activism with seasoned veterans, do some Robin Hooding, and learn about making the move. Keenvention received rave reviews last year. If you missed it, visit keenvention.info for full video coverage of every speaker and panel. This year, Rich Paul is our first announced keynote speaker, and more are being announced now at keenvention.info. Join old and new friends and neighbors in Keene for Keenvention this October 31st through November 2nd. Tickets are available now at a special early bird price of just $40 via credit card or Bitcoin. That $40 price only lasts through PorcFest, so don't delay. Reserve your tickets now at keenvention.info. Visit keenvention.info for more, or look for our page and event on Facebook. That's keenvention.info.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Peace News Now. We are live this Tuesday, July 1st, 2014, and joining us in studio is a very special activist who I brought to jail today, but he's not in jail. He's right here sitting next to me. Graham, how you doing? What are you doing not in jail?
I'm doing pretty good, Derek. So you dropped me off at jail, and they patted me down, and about 5 minutes later, they said to me, "Oh, Graham," and I didn't introduce myself yet. They just knew who I was already. But they're like, "Oh, Graham, yeah, you should have got something in the mail. You don't have to be here until July 12th, the day after my 21st birthday."
Whoa! So, okay, I remember being in the courtroom with you when you were asking Judge Burke, who sentenced you to 60 days for contempt of court. You said, "Hey, Judge, it's my birthday, and it's my 21st birthday. You think I could, maybe just be out on that day, have a little bit of fun?" And he said what?
He basically said no. He didn't seem very interested in doing that. He did, however, let me go to the Porcupine Freedom Festival in Lancaster, New Hampshire, which, of course, was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that was really cool.
He allowed me to do that, and then I got back from PorcFest, turned myself in today, and it seems like while I was gone, Judge Burke had a change of heart and decided, okay, I don't want to ruin his 21st birthday. I'll just let him go to jail after that.
Wow. But you didn't hear about this. Why not?
I guess I should have got something in the mail. I didn't get it, but...
Huh. Okay, so when did you hear this news? It was like right after you stepped into the jail, they just said, we don't really need you here. See ya.
Yeah, basically I stepped in there, and initially they're like, all right, someone turning themselves in for jail. We're going to pat them down. They patted me down. They were feeling me all up, but then the other guy came into the room. He's like, "Oh yeah, Graham, you don't got to be here."
Now, you had a plan for jail, too, and the video is already up at freekeene.com. So if you want to see the video of Graham being delivered to jail and walking in, you can see that at freekeene.com. You were giving some of your reflections on your activism and what you were going to do inside jail to keep your head about you. You mind telling the folks at home what your plans were once you got in?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I was just going to stay in my cell the entire time. I mean, read some books, do some push-ups and sit-ups, do a lot of meditation, and that was going to be about it. And I was going to refuse their work, too. Apparently, you can work in the kitchen there, and that would mean that I could get good time. I don't care if I don't get good time. I'm not going to do anything for the state ever, be that giving them money, be that doing work for their pathetic little jail system. I'm good with all of that, and I would much prefer to just sit in my little cage and read my books and get myself all fit from push-ups and sit-ups.
Now, there's something else interesting that's happening here in Keene today. The BearCat was in use earlier, just hours ago. I was in downtown Keene when I saw a gunman was having a hostage situation. You were there. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, I showed up a little late to the situation, and what I saw the BearCat there, of course. And I wasn't filming, actually. I didn't have my camera with me. A lot of people were filming, and one very key point that was missed by a camera, I ran over and got Garrett for this, and by the time he came back, it was too late. There was an average member of the KPD getting a machine gun out of his truck, and he was wearing some militarized gear. This guy had, helmet. He had everything. Like, I've seen this in other towns and other countries even, but like I never realized that the KPD was this militarized, and they are. They are just as bad as everywhere else when it actually comes down to it.
That's interesting.
And I asked this man, "Are you going to kill someone tonight with that? Like that thing is intended for killing people. Is that what you're ready to do?" And he looked me dead straight in the eyes and said, "I'll do what I have to do."
Yeah, sounds like a tough guy type of mentality. It's certainly not the type of person I would want helping anyone. And Ian Freeman is walking into the studio. He tells us that activist Robin Hood James Cleveland has been arrested. This is breaking news. Activist James Cleveland has been arrested. Charges are unknown at this point. He was there on the scene. I handed him my two-way so that he was able to communicate with some others. He had his own two-way. He handed that off to Garrett. He has my tripod at the time. We were both at the BearCat down in downtown Keene. This is terrible.
I think I basically know what happened. A local approached me and said someone just got arrested for filming. And a couple minutes prior to that, we heard James one time. He yelled, "Yo, Garrett!" And then after that, we heard nothing. And what I assume happened, I don't entirely know, but I think this is a pretty educated guess here. They had a lot of yellow tape up. You couldn't really go close to the scene. You could film from a distance, but no one was getting real footage of that. And knowing James the way I do, I'm guessing that he walked past that tape. He said, "No, I'm going to do some real journalism here." And they said, "No, you cannot do that." And James continued to film. And they arrested him for it. And that's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, right now that's calling for speculation, right? So you didn't see any of this happen?
I didn't see it happen, but if I had to guess, I bet this happened. And I'm sure James will have the footage on his camera whenever he's released from their cage.
Gee, I hope so. This is terrible. I think this is James's first arrest.
This is James's first arrest.
I don't know of any history of arrests for him. He's an activist from Georgia. He moved to Keene about a year ago. He got active on the Robin Hood scene and has made national news, international news for his activism. So this is a tragedy. Not only is a man injured, but now James, super activist, is behind bars. Hopefully he'll be arraigned soon, like tomorrow morning, and we'll learn of his charges. Hopefully bail will be posted. I can't imagine his crime will leave him without any sort of bail. So typically it could even be a personal recognizance type bail. They may not even have to bring him in for an arraignment tomorrow if they could just release him tonight after some processing. What are your thoughts on that? Have you ever been catch and release where they send you out on PR bail?
That's happened to me several times. I've been arrested for things like skateboarding or an open container charge. And I got out that night, and it wasn't much of an issue, and I didn't even have to have someone bail me out. They just said it was PR bail, and if I violated their conditions, I'd owe them X amount of money for violating their PR bail conditions. So chances are, if it was just filming, James might be free tonight.
This is horrible. Now, I was saying earlier that your charges for which you were being incarcerated for 60 days, that was the charge of contempt of court. Is that correct?
Correct.
Were there any other charges associated with that you were serving time for?
Basically, the charges I was dealing with was criminal trespassing on Central Square for skateboarding there, and that charge got thrown out. It was found unconstitutional. Not that I care much for the Constitution, but it was found unconstitutional and thrown out. And for that reason, the entire case should have been thrown out. But you know, I think I've told this story before. I was walking through the square when I was Robin Hooding, and I forgot about the trespass order for a minute. I had the police called on me. I was arrested for it. And then a few days later, after they put a no-contact order on the parking enforcer in question because he was now a witness in my trial, I walked past him on Main Street, and I was arrested for violating a no-contact order.
Right, an unconstitutional no-contact order.
Entirely.
But that doesn't matter. They're still going to put you in jail.
Yeah, they don't care about the Constitution that they claim is sacred to them. That's why it means nothing to me.
Right, and it was so uncomfortable because as I was leaving the courthouse after you were sentenced, Graham, I was having a conversation with Mr. Jason Short, who is a Keene police officer.
One of the worst of them.
Well, anyway, he was arguing that it doesn't matter that this is an unconstitutional decision because you violated the rules that the judge made up. So,
you were a disobedient slave.
Right. Well, in his mind, constitutionality is important, but not as important as whatever the judge makes up, because that's the higher rule, is the rule of man, not the rule of law. It's an interesting situation. Now, you'll be serving 60 days. With good time, that could end up being 40. We were talking about how you're unlikely to do the work that they require of you. You might be serving the full 60 days and not
I can
get
deal
that
with
good
that.
time. Now, what sort of work would you object to? Working out in the fields in the heat and the sun, or working in the kitchen, or any work at all?
I'm not opposed to work in general, and if I were doing those jobs for money in the real world, I would absolutely do them. What I'm opposed to is doing any kind of work that benefits the state in any capacity, ever.
Do you think that it really benefits the state to make food for the people in the jail? I mean, when I was making food in the jail, I was thinking about the bread that I made every morning and making cakes and cookies and thinking like, oh, this is going to make all my other inmates so happy. I wasn't really thinking about it like a job like making license plates. I could totally hear where you're coming from. Like, I don't want to help the state make license plates, but making cakes is sort of different. Any thoughts on that?
I definitely understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, it's still perpetuating their jail system, and
yeah,
I just don't want anything to do with it, honestly.
It is super offensive to be told you will work or you will be punished, and you're not going to be paid, and you're going to like it.
Yeah.
It's a difficult situation. Our guest has been Graham Colson. Good to see you are not in jail. I dropped you off there, and here you are, shocking me with the news of what happened downtown with the BearCat.
It's good to be sort of free.
That's right. Well, Peace News Now will return after this.
Did you know that 35% of high school girls report that they've only had sex with 1 or 2 partners a year, instead of having the living shit out of them by any guy they see?
Did you know that only half of all 17-year-old males report without a condom, even though it's really the only way to go?
There are thousands of American teenagers today who are unaware of the full benefits of your brains out all day, every day. These otherwise average high schoolers haven't been taught about every chance you get, pounding each other dry, and never ever pulling out. Every sexually active high school student should know this stuff. Ditch the condoms, because it's always better raw. Stop worrying about STDs. Every chance you get. Just keep and strangers, doesn't matter who. And most importantly, be direct with your partner about how badly you want to fuck their brains out.
This is the Onion News Network. Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's post pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Boost Kid Essentials Nutritionally Complete Drink, providing your picky eater with essential nutrition and great taste in one drink. Visit us at kidessentials.com. To make sure your kids eat healthy, follow the 5-a-day plan. Serve 3 servings of vegetables and 2 servings of fruit daily. Remember, a serving could just mean a piece of fruit or a half cup of veggies. If your kids are picky eaters, ask a nutritionist about other sources. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
More Peace News Now is coming up next, live after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
You're listening to The Liberty Beat, your daily source for liberty news and activist updates online at thelibertybeat.com. This is Justin Armand with your Liberty Beat for July 1st, 2014. Gold opened today at $1,327, silver at $21.12, and Bitcoin is trading at $655. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the notorious activist Michael Cargill. He has a new show called Come and Talk It, live Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. on 1370 a.m. in Austin. That's 1370 a.m. on Sunday at 4 p.m. Support comes from My Magic Mud, an all-natural teeth whitening and strengthening remedy. Go to mymagicmud.com to hear a short interview with Dr. Griffin Cole. That's mymagicmud.com. Or pick a jar up at Brave New Books. A person called 911 after witnessing a police officer get violent with a woman in Phoenix, Arizona, after she was stopped for allegedly jaywalking. The woman was an Arizona State University English professor who was walking near campus when she crossed the street to avoid construction. The officer stopped Dr. Ursula Orr and demanded she show ID. But after not immediately doing so, he instructed her to place her hands behind her back, threatening to slam the professor, who was wearing a dress. The officer followed through with his threat, slamming Dr. Orr onto the police car, wrestling her to the ground, and leaving the woman exposed after her dress rode up. Dr. Orr kicked the officer in what she says was self-defense. The professor has been charged with felony aggravated assault on a police officer, criminal damage, and obstructing a thoroughfare. Dr. Orr, whose life has been dedicated to cultural studies, intends to fight the charges. A statement by the university defended the actions of the ASU authorities, stating they acted appropriately. According to a report by The Telegraph, Facebook conducted a secret psychology experiment on its users to find out how they respond to positive and negative messages, without telling the participants. More than 600,000 Facebook users took part in the psychological experiment, which involved the social media site altering the tone of users' news feeds to highlight either positive or negative posts from their friends. The results showed emotional contagion, said Facebook scientists. When positive expressions were reduced, so were positive posts, with more negative posts increasing. When negative expressions were reduced, the opposite pattern occurred. The research proved that emotions expressed by others on Facebook are highly influential, a fact advertisers are very interested in. The Obama administration is seeking $500 million to train and arm Syrian rebels, a project much larger than the secret training of hundreds of fighters at a CIA base in Jordan in 2012. The U.S. government claims they will only train what they deem to be moderate rebels. However, it is unclear how officials will decide the fighters' level of extremism. An activist in the northern city of Aleppo said the U.S. government wants Syria to enter into a new war between rebels and extremists, adding that this move by the United States will only worsen the conflict. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from Cabo Bob's, now with 2 locations in Austin at 500 East Bend White Boulevard and 2828 Rio Grande Boulevard. And from Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Incorporated, specializing in precious metals since 1977. They don't feed the banks by taking credit cards, but you can bet they take Bitcoin. Online at rrbi.co. By phone at 800-874-9760. You're listening to the Liberty Beat for July 1st, 2014. Be sure to check out the website at thelibertybeat.com. On July 3rd, NSA whistleblowers Thomas Drake and William Binney will speak to a German parliamentary committee about specific details of the American surveillance on Germany. Jesselyn Radock, one of Edward Snowden's legal advisors, will speak on the conditions of Drake's testimony. The former NSA employee was previously prosecuted for releasing details on the NSA's activities. The committee is seeking information on how the data is collected, stored, and analyzed by the NSA and the British Government Communications Headquarters. Mexican officials deny that they crossed over the U.S. border into Arizona Thursday and fired at Border Patrol agents while they were stationary in a patrol car. Mexican officials claim the gunfire came from the drug smugglers they were tracking, insisting they were more than 100 meters away when shots were fired. Vivian McLaughlin of the U.S. Border Patrol insisted the Mexican helicopter crossed the border at 5:45 a.m. on Thursday, firing at agents over an Indian reservation in the desert before returning back to Mexico. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from Accountable Authority, online at accountableauthority.com. This is Justin Armand reporting with the Liberty Beat.
As of today, the average cost of a pack of cigarettes has gone up to 2 hand jobs and a stick of beef jerky. For more, we go on to Onion News Network prison economics expert Hal Rogan.
The prison economy runs on cigarettes. They're involved in every economic transaction at some stage, from contract killings to naked woman picture acquisition.
Right.
That's why we've got shampoo at 6 batteries. We've got tattoos at 50 commissary stamps.
Now, for what it's really like out there in the market, let's check in with major cigarette trader Big Dap Ramirez. Big Dap, nice to see you again.
Thanks, Rick. Good to see you. What's happening, Hal? How's it going, Big Dap?
Now, it's obviously a boom time for cigarettes right now.
I'm getting a lot of hand
With
jobs.
prices this high, analysis shows you're going to be seeing a drop-off in real sales soon as consumers turn to smoking grass fed.
Look, we've been through this before. The market teaches us not to panic. But if I learn anything in this game, it's that a wife or girlfriend will pass off a few decks in the boneyard. Supply will normalize, and we'll see cigarettes returning to a single hand job or less.
Big Dap, best of luck to you. We'll keep checking in on the story with Hal throughout the day.
Thanks, Rick.
Moving on to some happier news. In Atlanta today, 2 snitches were beaten to death.
This is the Onion News Network.
Peace News now returns as breaking news comes in from freekeene.com. James Robin Hood Cleveland has been arrested. Details are scarce at the moment, writes Ian Freeman, but it appears that Robin Hood himself, aka James Cleveland, has been arrested, purportedly as he attempted to gather news about a standoff between an allegedly suicidal man and Keene police. The Keene Sentinel has a developing story regarding the standoff, which apparently has ended after shots have been fired. Some activists returning from the scene believe that the allegedly suicidal man shot himself. Regarding James' arrest, no other activists were apparently there to witness it. Details are unclear as to if James was recording at the time or not. He is at Keene Police headquarters now, being booked and awaiting a bail commissioner. Stay tuned to freekeene.com for updates. And it's my understanding that there are currently activists en route to the Keene Police Station, where if James is released, they will be able to post bail and get him home safely. And hopefully we'll be able to have him on this program. He can tell us what happened. Until then, we'll continue with the stories of peaceful resistance around the world, including the story about Newegg.com accepting Bitcoin today. I know now after a story like that, I mean, it's hard to transition to a Bitcoin story, but here we go. From CNET, this is definitely worth mentioning. This is huge news for anyone who's been following Bitcoin for any length of time. Electronics retailer Newegg has begun accepting payments in the Bitcoin virtual currency, a move designed to appeal to its technically inclined clientele. Quote, "Our customers have been asking for Bitcoin as a payment option for months," said Soren Mills, Chief Marketing Officer at Newegg North America. "We believe there's a pent-up demand just waiting to be served. We are happy to open this payment option to them." The company is accepting Bitcoin payments through a partnership with BitPay, a Bitcoin transaction processor. The move could help push Bitcoin from crypto incomprehensible technology with a bit of checkered past into just another way to buy stuff. That's what the travel site Expedia had in mind when it embraced Bitcoin in June, and it's a future that's more likely with Apple's App Store reversing a Bitcoin app ban and California legalizing alternative currencies this month. In an era of evolving payment methods, from Amazon coins to Starbucks stars, it's impractical to ignore the growing use of cash alternatives, said Democratic Assemblyman Roger Dickinson, author of the California bill. All currencies require faith to work, but Bitcoin's unusual nature and difficult start mean that its users have needed a bit more faith than usual. It's not backed by any physical material like gold or by any country's promise of stability. That kind of backing hasn't preserved traditional currency from problems over the centuries, but Bitcoin's technological novelty has added an extra element of complication. Bitcoin transactions are logged publicly and verified through a computationally complicated process in a technique known as the public ledger that protects against an owner of Bitcoin spending the same value more than once. And listeners of this program already know that. You probably already use Bitcoin. But the complicated process of verifying those transactions is called Bitcoin mining, and those who run the computers that do the chore are occasionally rewarded with new Bitcoins. Now, Newegg has been close to the process because they sell computing equipment to Bitcoin miners. And they say, quote, "Our customers are among some of the earliest Bitcoin miners and are enthusiastic proponents of the cryptocurrency. Adopting Bitcoin as a payment method is another way we're responding to our customers' diverse needs." Bitcoin's value in traditional currency has been volatile, with a single Bitcoin worth less than $100 a year ago, surging above $1,000 in late 2013, now with a price near $620. Such volatility makes it an unpredictable mechanism to store one's financial worth, but that unevenness could diminish if Bitcoin becomes a mainstream way to pay for goods and services instead of a vehicle for speculative trading. This is huge news, and I'm glad that CNET understands where it's coming from. Now there's more to this article. You can see screenshots of how to pay for things using Newegg's new BitPay checkout option. But if you've used BitPay on any other website, it's the same thing. You go check out from your shopping cart, you say pay with Bitcoin, a QR code or a little barcode looking square thing is presented to you on your screen. You use your phone or your computer to send some Bitcoins and boop, you're done. It's all paid for. It's faster, quicker, easier, cheaper, more secure than credit cards or any other form of electronic payment method. So this is huge news. Congratulations, Newegg. I imagine they just wanted to make sure that everything on the back end was working. It would be so embarrassing if a tech company like Newegg had an uncomfortable or failing rollout of this technology. Like, hey, we accept Bitcoin, and then something breaks. You don't want to have that happen on a tech website. So while it was building anxiety and building suspense as they hadn't yet taken Bitcoin, I think now is the time for those floodgates to open. So go over there, make your purchases at newegg.com, and support them for accepting Bitcoin. Now, we've talked about the 3D printed shoulders. Now, Bitcoin is accepted in at Newegg. And also, I was talking on the Angel Clark show about how Bitcoin is changing the game for women blogging in Afghanistan. I'll see if I can pull up that story for you because I could just summarize. Essentially, there's a blog that happens in Afghanistan that's a women's blog, and they blog about women issues. Now, typically, women in Afghanistan don't have a lot of freedom. They can't just speak their mind, especially if they have unpopular opinions. But with a blog, you can write things to a wide audience and retain your anonymity. But how do you get paid? If you want to be paid for the work that you're doing, you're going to need to be known by somebody, and that causes a weak link. What the site was doing was paying all of its people in cash. Well, that kept things anonymous, but it adds a lot of risk to the person dispensing the cash. I mean, could you imagine? You have to pay all of your tens of thousands of employees. They've all got hundreds of dollars worth of paychecks. You're going to walk around with all those hundreds of thousands of dollars, dispense it all? I don't think so. That's going to put you and them at risk. So the solution steps in, Bitcoin. All these women need to do is boom, 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 set up a thing on their phone. It's free. They have a new account. They can create infinite new accounts to receive Bitcoin with, and then they can be paid. So they can blog anonymously, they can receive money anonymously, and they enhance their own personal freedom and that of the whole world thanks to technology. Thank you, Bitcoin, for making it all possible. Now, let's continue with more stories of peaceful resistance as we wait for more news of James Robin Hood Cleveland and his return from the Keene Police Department. There is an Uncle SAMta Kickstarter happening, and I want to share a video with you during the next segment about what this Kickstarter is all about. I think it's one of the most underrated Kickstarter projects out right now. If you're a big fan of freedom, you want to see this Kickstarter project succeed. I'm telling you. It's a animated feature about Uncle Sam and how Santa suddenly disappears, and the holiday of Christmas disappears with him. Well, what does Uncle Sam do? Of course, the government man comes in to save the day, creates a new holiday called Fairness Day, and it ends up being sort of a nightmarish dystopian hellscape, which is informative. It's educational for children to see, because they get animated movies. I mean, that's something that speaks to children. If you want to teach them a moral lesson, Disney already knows this. You show them an animated movie, fill it with morals, it propagandizes them. Well, if you want to propagandize your own children about the reality of coercive government, check out the Kickstarter for Uncle SAMta. I'll be playing a clip coming up. Plus, Keene Sentinel paper can't stop talking about chalking. Yes, the Keene activists made it to the front page of the Keene Sentinel once again after their return from PorcFest, and this time it featured a full-page picture of one of the Keene bureaucrats splashing a bucket of water on one of these beautiful chalk drawings. This is Peace News Now.
If you want to move to the Free State and you're looking for some real estate, well, I know a guy who's really great. It's the realtor Mark Warden. Do you want a home with 20 acres, a lakeside cabin, and need takers, firsters, buyers, and sellers too? Mark Warden is the guy for you. PorcupineRealEstate.com.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
I'm Mark Stevens of the No State Project, and are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're only helping the government. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available right now. Learn it, use it, spread it. So get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com.
Instead of just listening, you can also watch. See the Liberty Radio Network's Keene, New Hampshire-based live shows via our studio cam at cam.lrn.fm. Plus, you'll still be able to listen to the Liberty Radio Network via the cam feed in high quality 24/7, even when there's no live show being produced in our Keene studio. But wait, there's more. Our chat room is built into the cam page so you can interact with other listeners online. Listen, watch, and chat, all free at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
Hey guys, Mark Claire here, lionsofliberty.com, where
We strive to advance the ideas of liberty daily. We bring you the Morning Roar. That's right, every Monday and Friday we'll have a brand new edition of the Morning Roar. We provide a roundup of some news stories that you may not find in the mainstream media or even in your typical social media newsfeed. We find stories that relate to the ideas of liberty and provide you with our liberty perspective on them. Every Monday, we have our longest-running feature, Mondays with Murray, named after the great libertarian Murray Rothbard, where we'll examine an article or an excerpt from his works and help convey his view, along with our little spin as well. We wrap it all up every Friday with Felony Friday, where our own John Odermatt goes out and takes a look at some sort of felony. There's felonies committed every day, you know, whether it's a felony committed by the police, a politician, or even an average citizen. You can find all of this and so much more over at lionsofliberty.com, advancing the ideas of liberty daily.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is Peace News Now. We are live, and some serious stuff has been happening today. It's been a very busy day in Keene, New Hampshire for activism. I was down in downtown area by the McDonald's where there was a BearCat being used, a armored attack truck that the Keene police used against a man who was threatening to commit suicide. It appears from all accounts that he has committed suicide. James Robin Hood Cleveland is currently at the Keene police station. There are activists posted outside ready to post bail for him and drive him back home to safety, where hopefully he will come onto this program and tell us exactly what happened. Now, during the show, I was messaged by Andrew Demeter of Teen Take. He does some terrific videos on Bitcoin, GMOs, and other topics that affect young people. And he shared with me an article from GulfTimes.com, which writes, Kuwait finance firm suggests trading oil in Bitcoins. Now, this hasn't been announced yet. It's not an official decision. But this sort of talk is just the type of controversial talk that could lead to a disruption in the global financial order. There have been a number of proposals, the article reads, in the past to trade oil and gas in another currency other than the US dollar, for political as well as monetary reasons. Some OPEC members are not particularly friendly to the U.S. whenever there was a crisis of some sort, have been making repeated noise about denominating their price for hydrocarbons in another currency other than the U.S. dollar. But they've never quite managed to agree on an alternative. The most active countries today that pursue no dollars for oil policy are Iran, which encourages all trading partners to pay for oil in a currency other than the U.S. dollar, and Russia, whose flagship company, Gazprom, the largest extractor of natural gas in the world, recently told oil importers from China and Japan that they should pay their bills not with greenbacks, but preferably with yen, yuan, or even ruble. But a new report, Disruptive Technology, Bitcoins, Currency Reinvented, recently issued by Kuwait-based investment banking and asset management firm Kuwait Financial Center, also known as Markaz, even goes a step further. Oil-producing countries, particularly in the GCC, could benefit if they would use Bitcoin in oil trading, Markaz's research department argues. This comes as a bit of a surprise, since Bitcoin, as an unregulated, as of now, highly volatile cryptocurrency, has no manifestation other than bits and bytes stored somewhere in the virtual space, and seems not to be the most reliable means of trade for the world's most sought-after commodity. The idea is not new, though. This has been an internet debate about 1 year ago that would happen if the OPEC would adopt Bitcoin as a transition currency. Well, the outcome? Firstly, the U.S. would certainly not sit back and watch the dollar losing its petrocurrency status, and would do whatever needs to be done to defend the greenback. Secondly, China wouldn't allow it, as it wants the yuan to be the petrocurrency as well. And thirdly, in the movement of oil and gas, in the moment that oil and gas gets priced in bitcoins, it would be exposed to the cryptocurrency's extreme volatility, with massive consequences and fiscal uncertainties for petroleum exporting countries. Speculators had a wide and anonymous field to play. So what did Marquez actually mean? Well, they basically said that using bitcoins would save payment transaction costs for oil exporting countries, because sending and receiving bitcoins of any denomination is just a matter of seconds and costs next to nothing. For the clearance of oil payments through conventional banks, exporting countries currently have to wait 1 to 3 days and pay the usual banking fees. But just for saving some transaction time and costs, with the GCC, where the oil industry currently accounts for 90% of exports and 75% of government revenue, as Mercaz's own research, really be wise to channel these massive money flows through Bitcoin clearinghouses, which are, as per their nature, unregulated, work with open source codes, and can get, at recent history shows, easily hacked and digitally robbed? This is open for debate. Wow. You know, I have to just pause and say that sometimes I really appreciate that other people are busy writing these articles for me, and I can just source them and tell you what the important stuff is. But sometimes I just want to bang my fists on the table because these articles are so poorly written. I mean, for example, that last sentence was a serious run-on, and it just sort of loses its meaning after a certain amount of time. So let's conclude this article. Before any barrel will be paid for in bitcoins, it will be the Chinese yuan that has taken on the role as the dollar's challenger. China already pays Russia's and Iran's oil in yuan and is busy setting up yuan clearinghouses in major financial centers all over the world to facilitate the global money flow of its currency. This is, for now, probably a much better solution until the world knows what will really happen to Bitcoin. Thank you, GulfTimes.com, for a terrific article. Yeah, I look forward to that. Bitcoin is easier than any other currency. So, yeah, while it has a price that fluctuates wildly, you can still price something in the moment in Bitcoins, send the Bitcoins, and then convert them when they land. I mean, I could send Bitcoins to someone in China, and they could convert them into yuan in that moment. It's not complicated. It's so fast. And so that seems to me what people will do. People are used to pricing things in one currency and just keeping it that way. Oh, it's dollars, so it will stay dollars. No, you can price it in anything you want. If it's $10, send $10 worth of Bitcoin in that moment, and then that $10 worth of Bitcoin can be transferred into anything else you want. So, all right, I think we got the point that oil is an important resource. When you take the dollar away from the linkage to oil, then the dollar loses some of its power all around the world. Oh, and before we got to the last segment, I told you I was going to tell you about the story in the Sentinel about how Keene continues to get national spotlight from the activists' behavior. This from Ella Nilsson, Sentinel staff. It's been more than a year since the city of Keene and a local group of activists first fought over downtown parking meters. Yet, the story lives on. The saga of the activists, dubbed Robin Hooders, has played out in the national media on Good Morning America, the Huffington Post, and most recently, the front page of the New York Times. In a few weeks, Robin Hooding and a more recent dispute over chalking will be highlighted on the Comedy Central show The Colbert Report. Though throughout all of this, city officials have stayed mostly silent. They say they don't want to fan the flames of national attention on these issues. But just as chalking and Robin Hooding have thrust Keene into the national spotlight, city officials say these issues have put an important community debate about free speech front and center. Peace News Now will return after this.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippie! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your get intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadati.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize politics alone won't set us free. So what will? At Liberty on the Rocks, we believe the answer starts with living your principles, spreading ideas, and connecting with those around you. By starting a Liberty on the Rocks network, you can make a difference by uniting libertarian thinkers. Find out how much fun it is to build your local network from the ground up. Visit libertyontherocks.org today to get started.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same great prices, and LRN gets a cut. Please do your online shopping at shop.lrn.fm.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it. Who told you can go this way?
You can't do that, and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the route.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa, hey, who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video or audio allowed in this box.
No, I have work today. This is you ain't gonna make. Wait a minute.
Whoa.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running? Because you're scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to Peace News Now. We are live. Joining us in studio is James, Robin Hood Cleveland, fresh out of jail. Good to be with you, James.
Oh, it's nice to be out.
Yeah, tell us what happened.
So basically there was some kind of situation downtown.
Yep.
where they called out like the SWAT team and everyone.
Get in real close on that mic.
Yeah, and they had kind of cordoned off the area. And, so I'm going around the scene. I'm shooting video from a couple different points, trying to see what's going on. And I go around back behind this house. And it wasn't taped off or anything, so I didn't cross any tape. And I see this group of officers. And as soon as I start walking up on him, like one approaches me. And he's, you got to move back, you got to move back. And I said, okay, I'm willing to move back a little bit. And there's like a corner, and I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm far enough away. I've given you guys a safe move. I'm just gonna film here. And I basically promise I won't pass this line. And the gentleman who escorted me, the subordinate state officer, he was fine with that, and he went back. And the next thing I know, him and his supervisor coming back, and the supervisor took exception to me being there. And I was like, well, I'm not here. I'm just here to act as media, and I'm not going to interfere. I'm not going to come up. I don't remember exactly what was said, but of course I was running audio and video, so. Oh, terrific! That was one of the things I was concerned about. Was there a camera rolling at the time you were arrested? Yes, but they kind of grabbed me, and I kind of let go of the camera, and I didn't resist or anything. I just let them handcuff me. So the camera hit the ground, so I don't know if it turned off at that point. Oh, okay. So have you reviewed the footage yet? No, they seized the camera. So you are not in possession of the camera or the footage at this time? No, they seized both the camera and the audio recorder. Are you at all concerned that the footage may disappear? No, because, according to the gentleman, he claims he's getting a search warrant, the arresting officer. So show us your paperwork. For the devices. Hold that up for the camera. This is, it's kind of whiten out there. That's the receipt, the property receipt that they gave me for my video recorder and my audio recorder. Okay, and what's this other piece of paper that you have here? That's like the what I'm being charged with and the bail. Do you have a problem with this being on camera? Is this okay? Is this public info? Yeah, pretty much. I don't think it has my date of birth. Maybe I wouldn't like that out there, but. Okay, well, everyone ignore James's date of birth, but check this out. This is what they give you when you go to jail. Now, was this your first time being now they can arrested? Clearly see that, but that's okay. Is this your first time being arrested? Yes, it was. And what was the experience like? Were you prepared? Mentally, I'm prepared every time I interact with the state and its agents to be arrested, but I thought, so basically when they said, you're under arrest, I said, well, okay, I agree, I'll move back. And I thought they'd back down at that point, but unfortunately they didn't. Yeah. I took a step back and they immediately grabbed me, and I'm just like, okay, I'm... resisting. So what were your official charges? Resisting arrest. Oh, so you stepping back. And actually, I was just kidding, but stepping back was resisting arrest, wasn't it? I don't know what they consider resisting arrest. Well, they usually tack that one on anyway, because just charging someone with disorderly conduct, they have to know that's one of those. It's not resisting. I was trying to comply with his orders at that point. I had agreed to move back. Wow. Were you touched in the Keene police station? When I get processed, they strip you down. They did not strip me. They did search me twice, but. Okay. What did the search involve? They removed all my property from my person. Went through it all. Did they hold you against the wall? They didn't. Well, the state police searched me, and then they handed me off to KPD to be processed, which I don't know if that's typical. Yeah. Where did this happen? Was this all at the police station in Keene? No, it was out by the Wendy's in Keene. Oh, weird. Why is that? Is that where the they just patted me down. They did like a TSA. Oh, I see. They did it on site. Yep. Okay. So tell us what happened. What was the last thing you remember before you were arrested? Had anything happened with the gunman down in downtown? By the McDonald's area? It was still an active situation. Okay, because I understand shots were fired after you were arrested, and it may be the case that the gunman did commit suicide. That's what the police told me. Okay. So that's definitely unfortunate. Go on. They told me that he committed suicide because he is facing a lot of jail time.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me. There was a young man who told me anecdotally that the young black man was running from the police. He had drugs. He dropped them. He put a gun to his head. It seemed like it was a situation of the drug war affecting a man's life so negatively that he thought it would be a better thing to do to take his own life.
Now, one thing they did tell me, they claimed, so obviously the state trooper knew I was a Free Stater when he was in the jail, because like a bunch of activists showed up, and I think it was real clear. But he came back there and he's like, this guy, he was a criminal. His offenses had victims, is what he told me. So I don't know if it's the drug war related. Obviously, if he had drugs on him, that would probably play a factor. But he didn't know if the gentleman is still alive or not when he was talking to me.
It did seem to me that this man was facing some serious jail time, and rather than go to jail, he thought he would end his own life, and it sounds like that's what he did. Tell us about this at the bottom here, bail commissioner's fee. Now, in New Hampshire, that's something that doesn't have to be paid, but I see that next to the number 40.00, so presumably $40 was paid to the bail commissioner.
Yeah, I went ahead and I paid him, because almost every case I've heard where you don't pay him, the judge orders you to pay him. So, I mean,
I've been bailed out without paying. I wasn't ordered to pay. So sometimes you can just not pay. Other times, though, I refused to pay the fee, and I was kept in for an extra 12 hours. So it could delay the amount of time that you're going to be in there, because you have to wait for the next bail commissioner. They could say, no, I'm not going to bail you out.
Yeah, the gentleman was already irritated because they had this form, and it's like they want you to put all this personal info on it.
Yeah.
Like where you live, how long you've lived there, like your previous address, all your employer, like your previous employer.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want to do any of this. So I kind of just put my name. I put everything on the driver's license is what I decided I'd give him. And on the back, I signed it or whatever. But he
was mad that you didn't fill out the whole form?
He was immediately irritated. Like, he's like,
wow, what a bureaucrat, getting mad that you didn't fill out a form. I mean, who cares?
Well, he's like basically, fill this out or I'm not, you can wait for the judge. That's what he told me, something to that effect.
Okay, so you filled out the rest under compulsion, right?
Yeah, I wanted to write under duress for my signature, but...
Why didn't you?
I mean, I figured I want to get out tonight. I didn't want to wait.
Now, I see that it says here, personal recognizance. The defendant, that's you, agrees to the state of New Hampshire. Agrees that he is indebted to the state of New Hampshire in the amount of $1,000 personal recognizance bail to secure defendant's compliance with the conditions of bail written below. And here are your following conditions. The defendant shall appear in this court to answer the charge at 8:30 a.m. on September 2nd, 2014. So you have a court date.
Yep.
And that's not an arraignment, that's a trial, it sounds like, right?
I don't know. Usually they have a pretrial and arraignment, right? It
says the defendant shall appear...
This is all new to me. I don't know.
Yeah, this is...
It says to answer this charge, so wouldn't that be you're putting your plea in? So if I can waive that, I don't know. I'll ask some more knowledgeable folks.
Unclear. Do you have questions for James Robin Hood Cleveland? Call in. Hi-Fi Civ Dis is our number, or you can Skype into the program at Peace News Now.
Shiny badges on your jacket, shiny badges, start a conversation with your neighbor or your doctor or your family or your school. Now there's teachers and lawyers and business executives, and they all wear shiny badges and they all reject the state. Shiny badges on your jacket, shiny badges show the world that you reject coercion and aggression and oppression by the state. ShinyBadges.com.
If you're looking for work, the person you are applying to is probably so swamped with applicants that he or she is tough to reach. So call early in the day, before 8 a.m., before the palace guards arrive. You'll need your prospect's direct number, and here's a sneaky way to get it. Suppose the company's main number is 555-5000. You should call 555-5012. When someone says, "Good morning, Pam Johnson," you should innocently say, "Oops, somebody here must have written this down wrong. I was calling for Tom Frederick. What's his direct number?" If the very next thing you hear isn't Pam giving you Tom's number, it may be, "Good morning, Tom Frederick." For more tips for job seekers and getting better results in all your day-to-day communication, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Did you know you can get news updates about what's happening with the Liberty Radio Network delivered in the way you prefer? You can sign up for our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. Plus, you can stay in the loop by joining our Facebook profile at facebook.lrn.fm or follow us at Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm. It's all free, so sign up now at updates.lrn.fm for news updates delivered to your email box, facebook.lrn.fm to follow our Facebook page, and twitter.lrn.fm to receive our tweets.
Do you love coffee as much as I love coffee? Here's a delicious way to drink the best of the best coffee and make a difference, 1 cup at a time. We've partnered with Camano Island Coffee Roasters to offer BuzzBox coffee, and you can try a pound for free. All you do is cover shipping. It's organic, shade-grown, top 1% Arabica grade. 10% of future purchases help our efforts to give the gift of human freedom through at least 100 microloans via World Vision. For more information, go to coffee.freetalklive.com.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
Don't worry about things you can't control. Isn't that what they always say? But it's about impossible to avoid worrying about what's going on these days. The government has used the war on guns, the war on drugs, and the war on terrorism to tear our Bill of Rights to shreds. But you can fight back. The 10th Amendment Center has proven it, racking up major victories. For example, when the U.S. government claimed authority in the NDAA to have the military kidnap and detain Americans without trial, the nullifiers got a law passed in California, declaring the state's refusal to ever participate in any such thing. Their latest project is offnow.org, nullifying the National Security Agency. They've already gotten model legislation introduced in California, Arizona, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Kansas, meant to limit the power of the NSA to spy on Americans in those states. We fools to wait around for the U.S. Congress or courts to roll back Big Brother. Our best chance is nullification and interposition on the state level. Go to offnow.org, print out that model legislation, and get to work. Nullify NSA. The hero Edward Snowden has risked everything to give us this chance. Let's take it. Offnow.org.
You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
Peace News Now returns for our final segment of the show. You can catch us 7 days a week over at peacenewsnow.com. We've got all of our archives there for you to enjoy. Of course, everything's free. We've got videos dating back to 2012, always covering stories of peaceful resistance, not always as active as tonight, James. This was an eventful evening. There was a BearCat in use tonight. You were arrested for the first time. Tell us what's on your mind right now. What's going through your head?
I don't know. It's I felt like I was being very reasonable, and I think that'll come across in the video. And it wasn't my intention to, walk up on the scene and, hey, what's up? I was pretty far back, and I did move back when they asked me to. So I feel like these charges are bogus, basically. I don't think that I did anything wrong, and I was just there to document what was going on. I didn't have any intention to. I didn't want to get arrested, obviously.
Well, we have an incoming call. Would you like to take it?
Sure.
Caller, you are on Peace News now.
Yes, James.
Yes.
Let's say that the drug convict, whatever you want to call him, that killed himself tonight, and instead had aimed the gun at your head and taken your life.
Oh, so I did discuss this with the officer. So when the officer,
I'm asking you a question.
Well, when the officer came up to me,
who would be to blame?
I would not blame the police.
Your life?
And actually, on the video, it'll come across. I told both the officers, I said something to the effect of, "I appreciate you guys looking out for my safety, but I accept the risk. I assume the risk."
I'm not. You can't accept the risk if you're dead. But some people, if they were still living, like say your parents, who would give an F if you were dead, would be going out to blame some people. And guess who they'd be blaming?
I mean, it's like, let's say I
don't
drove a motorcycle really fast and I crashed it. I mean, I assume the risk. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if I jump out of an airplane,
dead, the risk don't matter. I don't care about you.
I agree with you.
I'm talking about the cops. No, you don't. Because the cops don't want people like you around. Trolls, I think, is a good word for it.
You weren't out there. Yeah. There were civilians, if you want to call them that, closer to the action than I was.
Right, I know, and they don't belong there either.
Well,
it's not a spectator sport. A gun involved.
Do you believe in the right of the media, sir?
It's not a spectator sport.
Sir, do you believe in the right of the media?
Of course I do. When a gun's involved, I understand why cops don't want people like you around that are amateurs. Don't call yourself a media member. You're not a member of the media. You're an amateur. You're an activist. Give me a break.
Sir, you don't know my background.
DJ, Derek, can I ask you a question about the war on chalk?
Sure, but I'd really like it if you'd keep your comments respectful, please.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm being nice. Because if James were dead tonight, he doesn't answer the question. Who is his parents going to blame? Huh? Who are they going to blame and who are they going to sue?
Well, who do you think?
The city of Keene taxpayers, that's who would end up having to pay for it because the troll didn't want to do what the cops told him to. That's as respectful as I can be, Derek, because these are not games. The kid killed himself.
Yeah.
What if he killed James instead? James, if you were gone tonight, your parents will be suing the city of Keene because they'd be suing the city of Keene police department.
I think the city of Keene would have they'd have a great case against me because I'm on video saying I assume the risk of being here.
I'm not talking about what you assume. I'm talking about who would be having to assume the responsibility if you did get shot. And guess what your parents would be doing tonight? They'd be looking for a lawyer in the morning, and they'd be suing the cops, and they'd be suing the good people, the lovely people of the city of Keene.
They may sue them. I don't know, but
so-called activism.
I don't know if they would sue him or not, sir, but I will say that they would have no case. They did.
Yeah,
good for you. It wouldn't matter if you were dead. Again, it doesn't matter. People would be taken to court because if you got shot instead of the kid putting it in his own head, put it in yours instead, there would be a little problem with this. The police department of Keene would have a little problem on their hands. One they would have never had if you don't come around with stupid video camera acting like it's a spectator sport, which it is not.
So WMUR was out there, a news agency filming.
I don't care that you were not the only person there.
They sued the police.
How many other people got arrested tonight that didn't obey the cops' respectful orders?
Well, sir, you don't even know what happened.
How many other people got arrested, James, except for you?
I mean,
how many other
no
people
one
got arrested
except
for you, James?
To my knowledge.
Yeah, because other people respect the cops and what they have to do. And when a gun is involved, it's not a spectator sport. But James, Derek, if that beautiful chalk drawing was of a nice, pretty swastika, would you object to the people of City of Keene throwing water on it?
I don't see what that has to do with what we're talking about.
Because you said that. Because there's a lot of things I want to challenge you because you call yourself an activist. I'm going to nicely call you a troll. That's what the City of Keene people have had to put up with.
Sir, I'm going to call you a troll for calling this radio station.
I'm calling to challenge you. I hear the civic commercials about I want to challenge authority and activism and activist this. You're not an activist. You're a troll. That's what I'm calling you.
Yeah, hey, I've just put you on hold. James has a couple of comments. I think we've given you a fair play. We will bring you back on just a moment.
I can understand the gentleman or the caller's concerns, and he said that he's calling to I don't remember what he just said, but to challenge us. And I feel like me being out there with my video camera, it's not so much of a challenge of what's going on, but it does keep the parties in line, if you will. It's a very tense situation for all parties involved, and I can appreciate that. But I wish the police would document all their encounters, and unfortunately in New Hampshire they don't.
Okay. Your turn to respond, sir?
Yeah, I was once the worst experience in my life was being on a jury, and I guarantee you the dude was 100% guilty of trying to have his ex murdered by a person that he's solicited into a bar. My point is that this educated idiot from Berkeley, California, that was our forewoman, literally didn't believe the cops when they did have everything on tape about the solicitation in the bar, because they went back to the bar the next night after the guy went to the cops and told him somebody asked me to murder his wife. They had it on tape, and she still didn't believe it because it wasn't on film. I mean, the fact that you guys think that things are only true if you have it on film, and that the cops are the public enemy number one, not a dude with a gun threatening public
Can I respond?
civility and safety. Okay, go ahead, James.
So in my immediate family, I have an uncle who's a police officer. I have 2 cousins who are police officers. So I don't hate the
Good for them.
police, and I don't think they're public enemy number one.
Them.
I don't like what the police do when they arrest people where I can't discern a victim. I'm all for the police if they're arresting murderers, people who damage property, rapists, people who rob.
I know you are, James. You don't need to tell me that.
Yeah, I think it's
you made a comment
some sensibility.
You made a comment that we think that the police are public enemy number one, and I don't.
Okay, then I'll back it up, James, because I've been listening to your station a lot recently, and there's a lot of stories about bad cops, of which I do know that exist.
Sure.
I have yet to hear one about good cops and of which a majority of them are. In fact, I would suggest to you a super majority of cops are good people that want to protect and serve their community and aren't jerk-offs. And I have never heard a good story about a good cop done good things, and let alone I've heard people laugh about people wanting to kill cops on your station, people that call themselves ministers laughing jokes about cops being killed. It's disgusting and wrong. So forgive me, James, if I accused you of thinking cops are public enemy number one in your world. But again, I would tell you to get the hell out of the way and go away if there was a gun-involved incident. It doesn't need to be filmed, James, and you're getting your rocks. Stop doing that tonight. It doesn't make you an activist or a good pillar of the community. And I would suggest you deserve to get arrested and deserve to be found guilty and deserve to be behind a cage, kidnapped, or whatever the hell Ian calls it. A prisoner. That is what I believe you should be. Because you don't have a right to go around and film cops on the scene when a gun-involved incident when you're not even doing anything good or right. That's just one man's opinion, James and Derek. But thanks for taking me on and letting me challenge you, Derek.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks for the challenge.
I appreciate it. Peace.
Peace.
Peace, dude.
So I would say real quick, he brought up a lot of points, and I'll try to address them very briefly. So first off, oh shoot. He stated that the super majority of police are good, and if that's the case, they shouldn't have a problem with people documenting their actions. And I think it's very dangerous precedent when you say it's a dangerous situation and you're not allowed to film it. I mean, how far do you want to take that? I mean, they could say that everything is dangerous that they're involved in, so you shouldn't be able to film the police at all. And I wish that more people would film the police. You know, and I don't have a problem with people documenting my actions. If you have concerns about what I'm doing, I'm glad that you raised them.
James Robin Hood Cleveland. Learn more about him at freekeene.com. This has been Peace News Now.
Free Talk Live. It's
Wow, James, that was amazing. I just ended the show. We just ended the broadcast on LRN.FM, but any closing thoughts that you want to leave the YouTube audience with?
No, I mean, obviously the gentleman, he wasn't there, so one thing I'm very careful about doing is, you know, if I'm unaware of a situation, I don't comment on it, and you know, I mean, the video will speak for itself, whether or not I was interfering or not, and I'm pretty sure that I'm in the right. I mean, as I pointed out, I did move back. I moved back to what I thought was a safer move, and the initial officer agreed to that. And, I mean, you'll see from the video, it's not like I was 10 feet away from him.
When do you think we'll be able to see that video?
I don't know.
Have it currently.
Well, no, the state of New Hampshire has it.
Who are they?
Well, they're the people that have taken my camera.
Okay. Well, when do you get it back?
I don't know. He said that it might be delayed because of the 4th holiday.
Now, will it be used as evidence in the trial?
Probably. I mean, I assume that he'll probably watch it and make his statement, you know.
Okay.
So,
well,
that's what I would do.
Let's hope that the video is preserved and that you are vindicated when your trial comes time. Your arraignment is September 2nd, 2014 at 8:30 a.m., and I will be attending with camera in hand.
Oh, real quick, too, I mean, the gentleman brings up, he says I'm an amateur and I'm not used to these dangerous situations and such, but, you know, I guess I'll play the card here. I was trained by the U.S. Army, so in theory, I'm well qualified to go into dangerous situations, and I think that anyone is qualified to go in a so-called dangerous situation. I mean, it's like out in public. People were in their houses right next to what was transpiring. So if the gentleman had started shooting into the houses, he could have killed someone. So I agree, it was a very dangerous situation, and the more tense the situation, I would contend the more valuable documenting it would be.
And before we wrap up, the man who just called in touched on the topic of assuming responsibility, and whose responsibility is your body?
I mean, I told the gentleman, I don't remember exactly the words I used, but I appreciate, you're looking out for my safety. I can appreciate that, but I'm assuming the risk. It's just like if I go skydiving, I assume the risk of the activity. So if I tell the officer, especially on video, I mean, let's suppose that the scenario the caller brought up had transpired and I was shot down, there would be a video. I mean, the video would be preserved.
And the police would presumably present it and say, look, we did everything we could to tell this man to please go away. And he told us that he was taking on the responsibility of his actions.
And one of the issues, too, I think is important to bring up in America, if you want to call it this land, whatever you want to call it. I think that there's too many lawsuits in society. I think that's a big problem, and there's a lot of unintended consequences from it.
Yeah.
So,
should people even be arrested for their own safety? I mean,
so
the
I would
argument is
encourage
absurd.
my parents not to sue people unless it's like there's real damage done to them.
The argument is really insane here. Essentially, what the Keene police were saying with their actions are, you're not authorized to treat your body the way you want by putting it into a potentially dangerous situation. And now it's a crime. So you are going to be punished for trying to use your body the way you see
My
fit.
intention was not to put myself at risk. It was to... So, I had moved around the perimeter, if you want to call that, and I had gone to a couple different spots, and I shot footage of, the police standing around. I shot pictures of their command unit, their command vehicle.
And you were...
and I was just walking around the perimeter and shooting shots in random places, and so I was like, oh, maybe I can get a different angle behind this building.
And that's constitutionally protected free speech. This is freedom of the press. I mean, your media, you're with freekeene.com, you do your own blog, your Lightspeed Liberty on YouTube. I mean, yeah, even just as an amateur videographer.
What if someone trapped in their house had decided, instead of cowering in the corner, I'm going to pull out a camera, and you're basically assuming the risk at that point. I want to film what's going on here. There's something going on, maybe they don't even know, but I'm going to make a conscious decision to, be at my window filming out. And then let's suppose they were shot. That's no one's fault but the individual's fault.
That's right. Well, we could go on about this, and I'm sure we will outside with some of the other activists as we continue this conversation. This does it for today's episode of Peace News Now.
Yeah, and I can appreciate, I appreciate people calling and challenging us. I have no issue with that. I wish the gentleman would be a little bit more calm. I felt like he kept interrupting me, and maybe he feels like I was interrupting him, but he would just keep going on all these points, and I couldn't respond to him. By the time I'm ready to respond to him, I've forgotten what he had brought up.
Maybe he'll play back this episode and listen to our conversation again, and maybe he'll call in again and continue to challenge us. I welcome that.
Okay, well, thanks for having me on. It was a good show.
Yeah, thank you, James, and let's go talk more about it outside. Cheers. This has been Peace News Now. If you liked this show, go over to donate.peacenewsnow and make a Bitcoin donation. This show is powered entirely by viewers like you.